Joseph Parker versus Carlos Takam post fight. Really good fight actually. Didn't really catch as much fire as I thought it would, but nevertheless, really good fight. Uh, I'm quite mixed on Joseph Parker. I got a few comments in the comment section, so I will address them both individually and in this video. For me, Joseph Parker looked really good going forward. Offensively, fantastic. For me, he should, I'll talk about his negatives after, but occasionally had a decent jab. Sometimes he doubled it up, tripled it up later on in the fight when he seemed to be getting slightly tired, and Takam was putting on a bit of pressure at times. And you know, good sort of trying to kind of duck and weave. Didn't do too much of it, but when he did, it looked good and it made Takam look quite wild at times. Great combinations as usual. Fantastic with the combinations, and I was I've always been impressed with Joseph Parker's combinations, and yeah, they look lightning fast. Really good hand speed. Very quick for a heavyweight. I'll move on to his negatives. He's completely defensively inept. He was getting hit by shots he should never be hit by. He made Takam, look more accurate than he should have, and it was very poor to see. For the majority of the fight, I'd say 70 to 80% of the fight, his jab was very poor. He kind of poured with the jab, and he didn't really snap it out and knock Takam's head back, especially when Takam was charging forward. He should have used his jab more often, and he's got a good jab. He needs to utilize it properly. Um, he didn't look the most fleet-footed, I would say. I mean, he was changing and making angles and that sort of stuff, but I would like him to sharpen up his footwork a bit, especially at the top level. The Takam sort of level, he can get away with it, but AJ, Tyson Fury, Luis Ortiz, those sort of opponents can't get away with it. You're going to be struggling a hell of a lot more. But his footwork is good. It's actually very good for a heavyweight, but I think for his athletic build and his style, I think he can touch up on it a bit. That's me slightly nitpicking, but yeah. Overall, I think it comes down to him being caught a lot more than he should, and I think likes to get caught in a firefight. He does have a good chin, it seems. He got caught flush a few times by Takam. The Sky Sports commentary again was awful, but I did think he got hurt maybe once or twice. Not many more times than that. Like the Sky Sports commentary team actually suggested, but I think once definitely he got tagged and he did feel it, but he seems to be having a decent chin, so it shouldn't be too bad moving up in levels. As I said, I always think that someone like Parker, great prospect, he needs to move away from New Zealand, but he seemed to be getting great support. So shout out to the Kiwis supporting, and it seems like he has a really good following there. But I would like to see him in the UK or the US and try and just build a bigger profile, more so than he already has. Um, Takam was very disappointing. On the other hand, very disappointing. That's not the Takam I've seen against Mike Perez or Alexander Povetkin or Tony Thompson. Those sort of opponents. He looked very laboured. He'd come on strong in the last minute of every round, and it wasn't a good start. I don't know if that was Joseph Parker. The Sky Sports commentary team did actually make a very good point. Glenn McCrory, he did say uh, him and Dillian White were talking in the studio, and they were talking about whether Takam might be disappointed when he wakes up from this defeat tomorrow, whether he could have done more. Dillian White said, of course he would, but Glenn McCrory actually retorted and said maybe it was some of the work that Joseph Parker did that put him off his rhythm and that sort of stuff, and maybe that's true to an extent. I definitely think we can see a better Joseph Parker. We can expect a better Joseph Parker than the one we saw this afternoon over here in the UK. for me, he's got a lot more to offer, a lot more strings to his bow, but defensively, he needs to really, really tighten up. That's a major flaw in his game. Um, but to Cam, yeah, I think he was much more disappointing in this fight, and he didn't show what he could do and didn't show his full potential. And Father Time maybe catching up with him at 35. I know 35 is quite young in the heavyweight division, but it seemed like he didn't really want it anymore, and Parker was picking him off at times, sometimes at will. So yeah, it's interesting to see where Takam goes from here. Could become a sort of a Euro level fighter, fringe world level. Tyson Fury refers to him as a top five gatekeeper, but I don't see him as a gatekeeper. I see him a bit higher than that. He's not at the level of Dennis Baktov or anyone like that. He's a bit higher than that for me. Fringe world level, I'd say he's still top 20ish, something like that, something around there. Um, Parker, where he goes from here, obviously he's the IBF mandatory now for Anthony Joshua's belt. I'd like to see him have a few good learning, a few more and very, very strenuous learning fights with people who are going to hit back, not the sort of Bowie Tupus who kind of fall over. I know that was one of his better fights in terms of resume, but those sort of opponents at this stage in his career, especially where he's at now, they don't really benefit him at all. And I'd really like to see him move through the gears and get some good opponents. Maybe I, I would say someone like Glaskov, but Glaskov's going to come off a lengthy knee injury. But someone around that sort of talent level and those sort of levels. Dimitrenko would be good. Rudenko, maybe those sort of European level guys who will give you a tough night's work. You don't know who's out there. Johan Depar's out there as well. So there's plenty of opponents out there, and there's a lot of potential for Joseph Parker to get some good hard learning fights before he fights for the world title, which could be sometime spring next year, I'd say, depending on when the IBF mandate the fight. AJ versus Parker is a huge, huge fight. I'm not going to talk about it and ruin it in this video, but I'll really look forward to that. Hopefully, it's over here in the UK. I'm pretty sure it will because the money law to both men will be absolutely astronomical, and I'm sure it'll be on pay-per-view. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Joseph Parker versus Carlos Takam. I did get the decision right. I said he would win about 7-5, 8-4 on the scorecards, which did happen, and I won a fair few quid, so it worked out all right. Later on, David Hay and Shannon Briggs fighting. Dennis Lebedev's fighting in a couple of hours, so I'm going to be watching that as well. FA Cup final, I'll be watching that as well. So busy day, busy day. Looks to be good entertainment. And let me know your thoughts on Joseph Parker versus Carlos Takam. How do you think he looked? Do you think he can improve in certain areas, or do you think he's a full package? What fights do you think he should have in the interim before his world title fight? Do you think he should jump straight in, or have some hard learning fights? Takam, where does he go from here as well? And let me know all your thoughts on that. It'll be good to hear that. Please give the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. It really helps spread the message. Subscribe and share also, so it gets out to a larger audience, and we get some more boxing heads on the channel. And yeah, I'll speak to you guys soon, probably after the David Hay, Shannon Briggs, and Dennis Lebedev fights. And catch you guys then. See you later. Peace.